Appreciate everybody being here, and I appreciate everybody being respectful of everybody else. Thank you very much. The very first bill is Senator, Yep, I'm sorry. Please call the roll. Okay. The first bill is Delegate Levine's bill. It's House Bill 961, having to do with assault weapons. Okay, Delegate Levine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
By the way, we're going to give 5 minutes each side, okay? 5 minutes for the pro side, 5 minutes for the anti side, for the whole group. So speak very quickly, okay? Delegate Levine.
I don't know if that comes out of my time or not, but
no, it doesn't come out of your time.
Okay, I'll try to be brief, though. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. HB 961 is a bill to regulate assault weapons. These weapons have been regulated in 9 states and D.C. There was a federal assault weapons ban. It also would ban trigger activators, otherwise known as bump stocks, and large capacity magazines. Assault weapons and large capacity magazines have been used in virtually every recent mass murder. They were used in 5 out of 6 of the mass murders of the last 40 years. These weapons were used at Aurora, at Columbine, at Orlando, in Pittsburgh, in Virginia Tech, and Virginia Beach. These weapons pose a real danger. The moment when a mass killer has to change a magazine is a moment of weakness. In Gabby Gifford's case, she is alive today because a brave woman by the name of Patricia Maish got the killer's magazine as he was changing it. There are people in Nashville, Tennessee that are alive today because at the Waffle House, a man by the name of James Earl rushed the gunman as he was changing magazines, grabbed the red hot barrel of the gun, and wrestled it away from him, and that's why people are alive. These weapons are not necessary for hunting. They're not necessary for self-defense. And for target shooting, it's pretty easy to get another magazine fitted. Now, this bill has gone through a number of changes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Stewart.
I'm having a hard time with this. I just wonder if the gentleman might explain to me what he's calling an assault weapon.
Absolutely. The assault weapon comes largely from the federal assault weapons ban. And it is a weapon with either, depends whether you're talking about a rifle, a pistol, a shotgun. They're all defined in the bill. For a rifle, it would be one with either a fixed magazine of greater than 12 bullets capacity or a detachable magazine and one of several features in the bill.
So, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Stewart.
So if I have a bolt action rifle that's capable of receiving a clip or a magazine with a certain amount of shells, does that fall within your definition of an assault weapon?
It does not. It has to be a semi-automatic center-fired weapon.
And that's found where?
It's found in the definition. You can find it in section 12.23089, lines 396, 398, a semi-automatic center-fired rifle that expels single or multiple projectiles by action of explosion of combustible material, that has the ability to attach a detachable magazine, and has one of the following characteristics: a folding or telescoping stock, a pistol grip that protrudes conspicuously beneath the action of the rifle, a second hand grip or protruding grip, a grenade launcher, a flare launcher, a silencer, a flash suppressor, a muzzle brake, a muzzle compensator, or a threaded barrel capable of accepting one of them. Is this?
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's for a rifle. There, for a shotgun, you can't have more than 7 bullets. You can't have a revolving cylinder, and the pistol is in here as well.
Okay, go ahead. Yes, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While we've interrupted you, I want to ask you a very parochial question. And on the version I'm looking at over on page 8 of 9, on line 470, it talks about the provisions shall not be applicable. And my question to you is it your intention that this entire bill would be applicable to the Corps of Cadets at VMI and Virginia Tech as it relates to licensed firearm training?
No, sir. The military is exempted. The law enforcement is exempted. And of course, in this bill, no one has to give up their gun anywhere in Virginia. People can keep their guns. It bans future sale and possession. But law enforcement and
Okay.
the military are
Mr. Chairman,
expressly
I read it.
exempted.
I just
Yeah,
want to
that's Senator
be
Norman.
clear on your intent that it would not be applicable to those situations.
That's correct, and manufacturers for those.
All right,
There's
thank
also transfers allowed, for example, transfers while hunting, transfers at target shooting, family transfers, et cetera.
Okay, go ahead, Delegate Levine.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Senator Obenshain.
So this requires, if you own a magazine that exceeds the capacity, it requires you to surrender it?
It would ask you to get a new magazine. You have a year to do that.
What does it require you to do with the old magazine?
You can sell it within that year. You can transfer it to someone who's allowed to have it. You can,
So you can sell it?
in that year, yes.
You
It doesn't go into
anticipate-
effect until January 1st, 2021.
So, all right, how about the person who buys it? What are they supposed to do with it?
Well, if they're out of state and they can legally have it, then everything's
If they sell it
fine.
in-state?
They cannot after January 1st, 2021.
What are they supposed to then do with it?
They can discard it. They can render it inoperable.
Throw it in the trash?
They can do that. They can turn it over to the police.
Do you have any provision in this bill for compensating people for
Actually-
taking their property?
Yes, Mr. Chairman,
Yeah,
Mr.
Delegate
Obenshain.
Levine, go ahead.
Buybacks are allowed in this bill, and
Provided for or allowed?
they are allowed if folks, and I actually think there'll be a number of folks who might
Is
want to
there-
give money for
Mr.
such a
Chairman, is there
buyback.
money in the
Senator
budget,
Obenshain.
in the House budget for buybacks?
I don't believe there's money in the House budget. However, I would certainly welcome that.
Right, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Obenshain.
so have you been in a gun shop recently?
Not recently.
All right.
I have been in a gun shop.
Mr. Chair, well,
Yeah,
that's
Senator
good.
Obenshain.
That's good. Mr. Chairman, what I would ask is, do you know how many of the how many full-size semi-automatic handguns even have magazines manufactured for them that have 12 or fewer rounds in capacity?
Mr. Chairman, I would say the gentleman, there are quite a few. In fact, one of the reasons we chose
Full size.
12 rather than 10 was because the Sig Sauer is a commonly used weapon that has a 12-bullet magazine. So we do know that there are.
So all Sig Sauer semi-automatic handguns have 12-round magazines?
Mr. Chairman, I didn't say all did, but a very common version does, including the ones used by police until just 2 years ago. Now, I understand that they have 13 bullets, but of course, there's an exception here for law enforcement with their
Do you know
service
what
weapon.
the
Senator Obenshain.
P229 has? How many rounds that magazine accepts?
Mr. Chairman, I can't speak to the specifics of each and every Sig Sauer. I know that 12 bullets is a common.
Okay.
All right,
All right, thank you.
yeah, go ahead. Continue.
Chairman?
Continue, yeah, Senator
Chairman,
Short.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand the bill. Delegate, I've been reading your definition and thinking about this thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would your bill make virtually every semi-automatic rifle and every semi-automatic pistol in Virginia an assault weapon?
Mr. Chairman, absolutely not. It is the weapons that have these features that make them more useful for mass killing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Senator Stewart.
But don't virtually every semi-automatic rifle and every semi-automatic pistol have the capability of inserting a clip into it? And if that clip is capable of holding more than 12 rounds, then it's, under your definition, it's a semi-automatic, an assault weapon.
Mr. Chairman, I would say, first of all, we should all remember that this weapon lets everyone who has a gun keep their gun. So we're only talking about future purchases and sales. With regard to future purchases and sales, it must have a detachable magazine and one of these features, like a grenade launcher or flare launcher or a flash suppressor or some of these military-type
Chairman.
features that were used.
Senator Stewart.
If it's a semi-automatic weapon and it's capable of receiving a clip or magazine, whatever you want to call it, that could hold more than 12 rounds, under your definition, isn't an assault weapon.
Mr. Chairman, that's not correct.
That's not correct?
That's not correct.
Can
It
you
must,
correct me?
Sure.
Explain to me where I'm wrong?
because it must have one of these military-style features. like the ones featured in the federal assault weapons ban that was so successful in keeping down mass murders. Yes, it has to be semi-automatic. Yes, it has to be center fired. Yes, it has to have a detachable magazine unless it has a fixed magazine of more than 12. But it must also have one of the features that you'll find in lines 400 to 404 of the bill.
Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
I would just simply say that this weapons restriction is clearly constitutional. Every single court in the nation, every federal appellate court in the nation that has looked at this issue has ruled it. DC Circuit, First Circuit, Second Circuit, Third Circuit, Fourth Circuit's most important to us because it includes Virginia. In the Colby v. Hogan case, they looked at Maryland's law, which is far more restrictive than this bill, actually bans the weapons, bans possession of the weapons. And the court found that assault weapons are, quote, weapons of war, unquote, not my words, the words of the Colby court. And therefore, as weapons of war, under Heller, they are not protected under the Second Amendment. The case was appealed to the United States Supreme Court. United States Supreme Court denied certiorari. They declined to review it. That wasn't the first time they declined to review such a case. They've done so in other cases, and there are other circuits than just the ones I've mentioned. The point is, there's not a single appellate court in the nation that has said that these are unconstitutional. So I understand that some people may disagree with the policy here, but there should be no question as to the constitutionality of this bill.
Okay, anything else?
I think that's about it, except to say that this bill will save lives. We have seen the federal assault weapons ban. We saw the incidence of fatalities of mass murders go down 70% during that 10-year period, and then they've shot up again. This bill will save lives just like it saved Gabby Gifford's life. And again, any gun you have, you can get a magazine that's fitted with less than a 12-bullet magazine. That's what they do in California. That's what they do in New York and Maryland and other states. So it really doesn't affect someone using these guns for hunting, for target shooting, for self-defense. It would, however, save lives from mass murder. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chairman, members
Now,
of the
for the
committee.
pro side, those that support the bill, line up. You'll have 5 minutes each. 5 minutes for
I
the
didn't
group.
prepare, I didn't prepare
For
5
each
minutes.
side, 5 minutes for everybody on the pro side, and then 5 minutes for everybody on the anti side.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Brian Moran, Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security, thank you very much. I think Delegate Levine has indeed described the bill well. This bill has been described in a number of other ways. It does not amount to a gun grab. It is not registration. It is not unconstitutional. It does not make our fellow Virginians felons overnight. It does not address possession of these firearms at all. Now, it does address possession of magazines over 12 rounds, but we provide additional time for their disposal and punishes it as a misdemeanor, not a felony. So, I appreciate, that I know this has been mischaracterized in any number of ways, but those are the salient features of this legislation. We have listened to the opposition at each and every one of these hearings and throughout the course of the special session in July and from the special session to January. So that is why this bill accommodates many of the opponents' objections. And so no longer registration, and only deals with the possession of over 12 rounds. We bumped it from 10 to 12. So this really is a far different substitute than you've seen previously last year or in this special session. Now, with respect to the constitutionality, I know we have a lot of constitutional scholars, but I would address in Colby versus Hogan, which was decided in 2017, Heller being decided in 2008, in Colby, and I quote, "We conclude that the banned assault weapons and large capacity magazines are not protected by the Second Amendment. That is, we are convinced that the banned assault weapons and large capacity magazines are among those arms that are like M16 rifles, weapons that are most useful in military service, which the Heller court singled out as being beyond the Second Amendment's reach. We have no power to extend the Second Amendment protection to weapons of war." Okay. Their words, not mine. So constitutionally, it has been challenged, and as you well know, and this committee knows that if this law were to be challenged, it would go to the First Circuit, which is exactly the same court that ruled and the Maryland law was far more restrictive than this bill that you're considering.
Senator Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Moran, my recollection is that you were a good lawyer.
I appreciate that.
Before you became this very astute lawyer, and I want you to tell me on line 406. He was a good lawyer. Line 406, paragraph 3 says, a semi-automatic centerfire pistol that expels single or multiple projectiles by action of a explosion of a combustible material with a fixed magazine capacity in excess of 12 rounds. What does that mean?
That's the fixed magazine.
What does that mean?
They're very uncommon, but that's where it's not a,
So,
an.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator,
when you insert a clip or a magazine into that, is it not fixed?
Yeah, no, it's not fixed. You would purchase the pistol with the magazine attached. It's fixed, is what I understand.
How do you put
So it's only the detachable magazine that you had questions with respect to whether or not the capability previously to Delegate Levine. And it is indeed a three-part test because on line 399, it used the conjunctive and. So it's a detachable magazine with the capability, semi-automatic, and one of the following characteristics that you see through 400 to 405.
But, Mr.
With
Chairman,
respect to the fixed magazines, they're very uncommon, what I understand, having a fixed magazine.
But once you insert the magazine into it, isn't it then fixed into the weapon?
No, because I think then it's detachable. I mean, you can take it out.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got.
Thank you very much,
listen-
Mr. Chairman.
okay, Next.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kyle Ann Hunter, Vice President of Programs for Brady. As a combat veteran and proud gun owner, I rise in support of this bill. In Iraq and Afghanistan, I saw the uniquely deadly characteristics of firearms such as these. And as a Marine, I fought to secure the blessings of liberty here in this country. Time and time again, we have seen these weapons cause fear, cause destruction, and cause mass murder. And there is no place for them in our streets today.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, you got 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Good morning, Senator Edwards. My name is Peter Reed, current constituent of Senator Peterson, former constituent of Senator Sasslaw. I find nothing funny or amusing about this conversation, and I would ask the committee to keep that in mind. Senator Sasslaw was my senator on April 16, 2007, when my daughter Mary and 31 others were shot to death on the campus of Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. I am coming to you also as a combat veteran of the United States Air Force who has fired everything up to and including the M60 machine gun and light anti-tank weapon. I don't need any instruction on assault weapons, and I don't need to listen to a definitional debate. I am here to talk about a life and death issue. I do not want to see any other families or victims of mass shootings have to endure them at the hands of an assailant armed with weapons covered by this bill. The Secretary, Kaya, Delegate Levine have made the case for the common sense of this. They have made the case for the constitutionality of this particular bill. Senator Peterson, this bill does not infringe anyone's rights. It is a matter of life and death for these families and these victims. I beg you, I implore you, as I have for over a decade, pass this bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, got 53 seconds.
My name is Basil Madawi. I'm co-founder of March for Lives Virginia Beach, and I'm in support of this bill. In Virginia Beach, 12 people were killed in Municipal Building 2, and the gunman used a high-capacity magazine. This bill would have effectively banned that magazine. All I'm asking for is for peace, for me and for my peers and for all the young people in Virginia. My city remains on edge. I'm tired of my classmates flinching at the sound of a loud sound in the hallway, fearing they will become a statistic. I'm tired of fear. I'm tired of violence. I'm tired of inaction. Now is the time for change, and this bill is that change.
Thank you very much. All right, next. 20 seconds.
Good morning. My name is Lori House. I'm with the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, and my daughter was shot and injured at Virginia Tech on April 16th, 2007.
Go ahead.
What else can we say to you? People are dying, and you care more about a piece of hardware.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead. I'll just continue.
Chairman,
I'll
Andrew
give- I'll
Goddard.
give 30 more seconds.
Andrew Goddard, Virginia Center for Public Safety. We support this bill as it was originally drafted, which would have been a much better bill. Thank you.
I'm going to extend everybody, how many people are still there? Raise your hand. All right, I'll add 2 more minutes to be 7 minutes for both sides.
Josh Horowitz, Educational Fund to Stop Gun Violence. We support this bill. I would say people say, why 12 rounds? If you were shot with a 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th round, you'd know why this matters. This will save lives. The evidence shows that. Please support this bill.
Okay, thank you. Next.
I'm Joanne Sweeney. I'm a citizen of Chesterfield County. I also represent the Liberal Women of Chesterfield County, and we support this bill.
Okay. Next.
Brittany Whitley with the Office of the Attorney General, and on behalf of Attorney General Mark Herring, we do support the bill.
Okay, thank you. All right, one more minute. Is anybody on the pro side? Okay, thank you very much. Now, on the anti side, we'll give 6 minutes, since they took 6.
Thank you, Senator. We're just a
Okay.
strange circumstance here. Good to see you all today. You sit on this
Welcome,
committee.
Congressman. Welcome.
Thank you. I represent Showmasters and Red, White, and Blue Enterprises, but I'm also representing myself and my opinions, but more importantly, legal precedent. Secretary Moran discussed Colby versus Hogan. I invite members of the committee to Google search Colby versus Hogan, when the first story that comes up will be Colby versus Hogan defies Supreme Court. And I will tell you that I'm sort of conflicted here because, candidly, I have a personal interest in this, but beyond that, I feel like it's my duty to tell you that if you pass this legislation, there are better lawyers than myself and people in this room, no offense, who are clamoring for the opportunity not only to overrule this draconian piece of gun legislation, but all of the gun legislation across the country. I want you to consider not only the ruling in Heller, but also the rulings in Heller 2 and Heller 3 and the rulings out of the Southern District of California in 2019 under Judge Benitez that would strike down parts of this bill as unconstitutional. So now we're looking at the D.C. Court of Appeals and the Southern District of California, not traditionally conservative pro-Second Amendment jurisdictions, and a trend in precedents against this bill. Now, not only did a good point get brought out as it relates to the money for buybacks on magazines, but the legislative cost, the litigatory cost of this legislation will be beyond what you can comprehend. And I promise you it's in neither chamber's budget. So with that in mind, above and beyond the constitutional reasons, this thing will get struck down and it will do exactly the opposite of what you intend. It will create a circumstance wherein all gun bans that defy the Second Amendment and Heller and common use are overruled for perpetuity. And with that, I thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman Tom Garrett, former state senator. Thanks for being here. Okay.
Philip Van Cleve, Virginia Citizens Defense League. There's so much wrong with this bill, it's hard to even begin on it, but we'll hit a few things. Number one, the whole constitutionality has never been tested in Virginia. We have a very powerful protection for gun rights, Article 1, Section 13, that makes it clear that everybody is a member of the unorganized militia, as well as you're expected to be trained to arms. So this challenge, as far as I'm concerned, would begin in Virginia, a whole different area. Number two, speaking about mag size, the Virginia Tech Commission, right after the shooting, in their report, stated in there that magazine size would have made no difference to the outcome. That the 10-round magazines, if that's what Cho had used, would have not have changed anything. By the way, violent crime was dropping during the time of the assault weapon ban. It continued to drop after the ban expired. Virginia is 4th from the bottom for a violent crime rate in the United States. We're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Next.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah,
I had a
Senator
question of
Morrissey.
Mr. Van Cleve.
Yeah, Senator Morrissey, here's a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Van Cleve, Secretary Moran mentioned the 2017 United States Supreme Court decision that, of course, does apply to Virginia and the other 49 states. How do you ascertain that decision with your statement that the constitutionality has not been tested in Virginia?
Well, it wasn't the Supreme Court in 2017, I don't believe. I believe that was the Circuit Court.
Did you hear Secretary Moran mention the U.S. Supreme Court decision in 2017 that opined on the constitutionality of the ban on, I'll move on to another question. What is the difference between this legislation by Delegate Levine and the federal assault ban legislation that the Supreme Court has ruled is constitutional?
Big differences. Number one, the ban that Delegate Levine has only requires one feature to ban a gun. It bans a whole host more guns. The federal law allowed you to have 2 features. For example, you could have a pistol grip and the removable magazine, or you could have a flash suppressor and so forth. So you can't have If you have one of those things, the gun's struck down. So it's significantly stiffer.
All right, final question, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
Senator Morrissey.
The Colby decision in 2017, which was a Fourth Circuit decision, didn't go up to the Supreme Court, it was a Fourth Circuit Court decision that said that the legislation was past constitutional muster. Do you agree that that Fourth Circuit decision is applicable to Virginia?
I think we have our own Supreme Court with our own laws to look at. We have to look at our own Constitution as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, next, I had 2 more minutes, but I'm going to make it 3 more minutes because the other side got 6 minutes.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is DJ Spiker with the National Rifle Association. We oppose this bill for another reason stated previously. One thing to note here, for our border counties and those individuals who are wishing to hunt from out of state, you cannot bring your firearm with you. If you do and bring it back into Virginia, you are now a felon. If you go across the Bay Bridge in order to hunt on the Eastern Shore and transport your weapon and bring it back in, it is a Class 6 felony per the definition of this bill. There are a lot of concerns with this bill. It is unfortunately turned into a Frankenstein, but this time we'll absolutely oppose this bill. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Adams. I represent the Virginia Shooting Sports Association, the state affiliate of the NRA. We have thousands of individual gun owners across the Commonwealth, as well as 26 affiliated shooting ranges across the Commonwealth, including one in your backyard, Mr. Chairman, the Roanoke Rifle and Revolver Club. There are an estimated 10,000 competitive shooters in Virginia. Many of those are members of our association. Folks who come in and compete at our ranges throughout March through September come in from out of state as well. They would no longer be able to come in and participate in rifle competitions. The patron has said that we get to keep our firearms. That doesn't help you if you're coming in from out of state and you're transporting the firearm, which is something this bill does. I urge you to defeat the bill. Thank you, sir.
Okay, next, thank you.
John Quapis, Chesterfield County. This bill is fraudulent in its claims and fraudulent in its claimed effects. Number one, the Department of Defense and NATO has defined as an assault weapon as one capable of automatic fire. None of these weapons are capable of automatic fire. They are semi-automatic. These weapons are bought primarily as self-defense weapons, home defense weapons. That's a major interest of people in having these weapons. They're becoming very popular for that. You can get a DVD telling you all about how to do it. This is not a weapon that's seriously a problem in Virginia. There have been no so-called assault weapons used in any mass murder killings in this state. Of the 117 documented killings, mass killings from 1982 to 2019, of those 117, only 25% used assault weapons, quote unquote. The rest were handguns. There was a study done by Boston University on 25 years of federal data on this. It found, let me quote you, laws regulating the types of weapons people have access to, such as assault weapons bans and large capacity ammunition magazine bans, have no effect on the rate of firearms related homicides. This is not going to reduce mass killings. It's not going to reduce murders. It can actually increase them because it gives a disadvantage to the criminal and the mentally ill person. The self-defending homeowner, et cetera, is disadvantaged. They are partially disarmed because they can't use these weapons because the magazines are smaller. A mother trying to defend her children at home, she has to constantly change magazines at 12 a magazine. She can get shot and killed during that as opposed to having a 20 or 30 round magazine. This bill is actually horrendous. It does no good. It will actually harm the state.
Okay, thank you. Next.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Trevor Santos with the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the Trade Association for America's Firearms Industry. We oppose this legislation. Not only do we have issues with banning future possession and sale of commonly owned firearms, there's a provision that allows manufacture for sale to law enforcement and military. However, there are issues with distributors and retailers who currently have contracts with Department of Defense, law enforcement, as well as U.S. contractors. For those reasons, we oppose this bill. Thank you.
All right, coming up, your time is probably come up and say who you are and very quickly.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My name is Knox Williams with the American Suppressor Association. For many reasons, we oppose this bill. Chief among them is the fact that a suppressor is a tool that does help protect thousands of people's hearing within this state, whether they're hunters or recreational target shooters. According to peer-reviewed research, the most serious threat to hearing comes from recreational hunting or target shooting. And that's why the National Hearing Conservation Association supports the use of firearm suppressors to help mitigate preventable hearing damage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator, just state your name and your position.
Patricia Webb, I am a licensed FFL. This bill, if passed as written, would put over 2,000 licensed firearms dealers in the state out of business because it would essentially ban the vast majority of items that we sell. Most of the features that are listed as, quote, assault features are actually safety features. And a lot of them are designed to help people with disabilities to be able to better control the firearm. So I respectfully ask that you kill this bill. Thank you.
I'm ready this. Okay.
Scott Jenkins, Culpeper Sheriff, strongly against the bill.
Okay.
We owe it to our constituents. If you vote in favor of this
Mr.
bill,
Chair.
you should explain why and what good it will do.
Mr. Chair, we've gone way over
I
time.
know we have. We have a lot of people here. Step up and say who you are.
I've got a motion.
Okay, just a minute. Go ahead.
Grayson County Sheriff Richard Vaughn, I do oppose the bill. It's a bad bill. Thank
Okay,
you.
very quickly. Just want everybody to state their name and.
Hi, I'm Mark Curtis from Beaver Dam, Virginia. We're trying to make sure that this bill's
Okay,
done
thank
make
you.
it there.
How many people are back there that would like to say something? Raise your hand. All right, very quickly. We're not going to let everybody, but come on up. You've gone over time, but go ahead.
I understand. Candy Eubank, I'm a wife, a mother, and a woman, and I need this bill. I oppose this bill because I need to protect myself.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Does everybody back there agree with what everybody has said? Go ahead, very quickly. Go ahead, very quickly.
Pat Grandelli, my daughter Katie interned for Senator Boysko last year. I oppose this bill, and the grandfather clause will certainly violate the 14th Amendment.
Okay, thank you. All right, this will be the last person.
My name is Arsalan. I want to speak to everyone that says the Supreme Court has approved this case. They're holding a case out of Massachusetts, Worman v. Healey, that challenges the AR-15 ban out of Massachusetts. The Colby v. Hogan case didn't stop importing of third-round magazines.
Okay.
The resolution pending in the New York State Rifle Pistol Association, whatever standard of review that they put in there, that will make these kind of laws constitutional, not constitutional.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Would the patron like to say one last word and wrap it up?
Well, and I promise I will be very brief.
Okay.
There is an exception for manufacturers for the military, so that's right there in the bill. Suppressors are allowed under the legislation. If you like your suppressor, you can keep your suppressor. For those that complain about Article 1, Section 13 of the Virginia Constitution, the Virginia Supreme Court held in 2011 in the D. Giacinto v. Rector and Visitors of George Mason University case, 704 Southeast 2nd, 365, that the Virginia Bill of Rights protections are coextensive with the Second Amendment. The Colby case was appealed to the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court declined to hear it, cert denied in 2017, 138 Supreme Court, 469. And lastly, if you're using these guns for self-defense in your home, I guess you'll only be in trouble if 13 people come to burglarize your home in the middle of the night. I think that's quite unlikely. People can use shotguns to shoot several pellets out at once. These guns are not made for home defense. They're made for mass murder. Thank you for your time.
That completes the public hearing. Yeah, Senator Deeds.
Mr. Chair, we passed a lot of gun bills this year. There are obviously a lot of questions about definitions in this bill, and definitions do matter. I would move that you carry this bill over till the 2021 session and write a letter to the Crime Commission, ask them to take a look at the definitions contained in this bill.
Mr. Chairman. It's been moved and seconded that the bill be carried over.
Mr. Chairman,
Substitute
motion,
Mr.
Chairman.
Substitute
motion, Mr. Chairman.
Just a minute, Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A substitute motion to pass it by for the day and not the year.
Second. Mr. Chairman.
It's been moved and seconded to pass it by for the day and not the year. Senator Stewart.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to pass the bill by indefinitely. Well,
we got three motions. All right, we have the first motion, which is pass it by for the day.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Senator Peterson.
I call the previous question.
The previous question has been ordered. All in favor of the previous question, which is the first
Mr. Chairman,
motion to pass it by.
Are you going to allow anybody to say anything?
It's not a non-debatable question on the pending question. Not debatable. All in favor of ordering the previous question, pending question, previous question, which was Senator Deeds' a motion to pass it by for the year. All in favor of ordering that, vote aye. All opposed, no. Ayes 10, noes 5. The previous question's been ordered. The previous question is to pass the bill by for the year with a letter to the Crime Commission to study it.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Mr.
Senator
Chair. Mr. Chairman.
Morrissey.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, in order.
Senator Morrissey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In order of hierarchy, would it not be appropriate to vote on my motion first to pass it by for the day, followed by passing it by for the year, followed by?
No, the pending previous question has been ordered, and that's Senator Deeds' motion to carry it over for the year with a letter to the Crime Commission. Okay?
Preemptive motion that takes over precedence.
All in favor of that motion, vote aye. All opposed, no. Ayes 10, noes 5. The motion carries. The bill will be carried over for the year. A letter will go to the Crime Commission to study it. Thank you, Delegate Levine.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Chairman and members.
Thank you all for being here, and thank each side for your respectfulness. Okay, now Delegate Levine, you have some other bills.
I have a couple other bills that I think are
Not as
hopefully less
controversial, maybe?
controversial. HB